Hey everyone, welcome back to Genai's World News. I'm Genai, and we've got a packed show for you today. Let's dive straight into a major diplomatic development out of Eastern Europe. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has made a bold and very public move, publishing an open letter directly addressed to Russian President Vladimir Putin, calling for face-to-face negotiations. According to BBC News, Zelensky argues that only direct engagement between the two countries can bring this war to an end. The timing here is significant. With the United States deeply focused on the escalating situation in Iran, Kyiv appears to be signaling that it cannot afford to wait on Washington to broker a deal. Zelensky is putting the ball squarely in Putin's court, very publicly, and daring him to respond. Whether Moscow will even acknowledge the letter remains to be seen. But this is a striking escalation in diplomatic pressure from Ukraine's leader. The world is watching. All right, staying in the geopolitical space, and this one is a big deal. Chinese President Xi Jinping is set to travel to North Korea on June 8th and 9th for a rare face-to-face summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong Un. As reported by BBC News, visits like this are genuinely uncommon. North Korea remains one of the most isolated nations on the planet, and when China's top leader makes the trip in person, it sends a very deliberate message to the rest of the world. So what's behind this visit? It comes at a moment of significant global tension, wars in Ukraine and Iran, shifting alliances, and a new era of great power competition. Beijing and Pyongyang have long maintained a close, if sometimes complicated, relationship, and this summit is widely seen as China reinforcing that bond. For analysts watching the region, this is a major signal about where Chinese foreign policy is heading and what it might mean for stability on the Korean peninsula and beyond. Now to a story that's raising serious concerns and a lot of questions. Prosecutors have confirmed that Zainab Javadli, the former wife of a nephew of Dubai's ruler, is currently in custody. BBC News reports that Javadli had been completely out of contact with her friend since Tuesday, sparking widespread alarm among those close to her. Details at this stage remain sparse, but the circumstances are drawing significant international attention given who is involved. The case touches on questions about personal freedoms, legal protections, and the treatment of individuals connected to powerful Gulf royal families. Human rights observers are already paying close attention. We'll continue to monitor this situation and bring you updates as more information becomes available. Okay, let's shift gears to something that is making Wall Street absolutely buzz right now: SpaceX and its historic IPO. The Financial Times is reporting that Elon Musk's rocket company is gearing up for what could be one of the largest public offerings ever seen, valued at an eye-watering $75 billion. And here's the twist that's really getting people talking. Up to a quarter of that float could be set aside specifically for everyday retail investors. That's right. This isn't just a game for the big hedge funds and institutional money this time around. According to the FT's coverage of Wall Street's reaction, banks and stock exchanges have been practically tripping over themselves to be part of this deal. The competition to get a piece of SpaceX is fierce, and the decision to open it up to individual investors is being seen as a significant and somewhat unconventional move. Whether you're a space enthusiast or a market watcher, this IPO is shaping up to be a historic moment for both the tech sector and the broader investment world. Moving to global economics now, India's government has made a notable policy move to try to stabilize its currency. The Financial Times is reporting that New Delhi has decided to eliminate capital gains taxes for foreign investors who purchase Indian bonds. The goal here is straightforward: make Indian debt more attractive to international buyers, bring more foreign capital into the country, and use that to prop up a rupee that has been under significant pressure. Why is the rupee struggling? The FT points to a combination of factors: foreign capital flowing out of emerging markets, and the ongoing war in Iran adding a layer of global uncertainty that tends to push investors towards safer assets. Meanwhile, India's central bank has held interest rates steady despite that pressure, choosing not to hike borrowing costs. Scrapping the tax on bond returns is effectively another tool to attract that foreign money without tightening monetary policy. It's a delicate balancing act, and one that economists around the world will be watching closely. This next story is genuinely alarming and deserves your full attention. The Financial Times has published an in-depth report revealing that Russia and Iran are actively recruiting minors, teenagers, to carry out hostile operations across Europe, Ukraine, and Israel. We're talking about young people being targeted and enlisted as agents to commit acts of sabotage and mayhem. Think about that for a second. Intelligence agencies across the continent are raising the alarm about this tactic, which experts say is deliberate. Minors are harder to prosecute, easier to manipulate, and their involvement can be more difficult to trace back to state actors. The operations reportedly range from vandalism and arson to more serious acts of disruption. This is hybrid warfare evolving in a deeply troubling direction, and European security services are scrambling to respond. It's a stark reminder that the front lines of modern conflict extend far beyond any battlefield. And finally, let's end on a story that feels like science fiction but is very much science fact. The Financial Times is reporting on the rapid rise of humanoid robots entering real-world workplaces, and what that means for the millions of people whose jobs could be on the line. Android workers are no longer just a concept in a lab. They are being deployed on factory floors right now, and the pace of adoption is accelerating. The FT's analysis suggests that worker anxiety, while completely understandable, is unlikely to be enough to slow this trend down. The economic incentives for companies are simply too strong. This is artificial intelligence's creative destruction arriving in physical form, and it's going to reshape the global labor market in ways we're only beginning to understand. It's a conversation every government, every business, and frankly, every worker around the world needs to be having. And that's a wrap on today's edition of Genai World News. If you found this valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps us keep bringing you coverage of the stories shaping our world. We'll see you in the next one.